Rob Schmidt tonight. Happy Friday to you. The left is absolutely losing it over CBS's decision to finally end its most brazen left-wing propaganda program. Over the last 10 years, Stephen Colbert has slowly corrupted and spoiled a show that was made famous by David Letterman. Late night television used to be something that we could all enjoy, right? You could just sit down and watch it. You know you're going to get something good. They were going to make some fun of people and stuff like that, but it wasn't going to be propaganda that you hated. But since Trump's political ascension, it has become largely unwatchable late night TV in this country. Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel, the CBS and ABC hosts, squandering audiences that took decades to build and turning late night TV into left-wing political propaganda. It has been truly disgusting to watch as somebody that loved those late night shows. And we all wondered how long these networks would allow such a blatant ideological agenda to take over its programming from these little high-paid nerds. But in truth, that agenda is everywhere on these big networks. From the Today Show through The View, all the way up through The Late Show, all the different networks. Our broadcast media in this country is not allowed to do this, but does little more than brainwash the masses to accept the left-wing deep state agenda, and Stephen Colbert was one of the worst.
Right after we heard that Joe had clinched the Electoral College, I sat down and just started crying with relief. Donald Trump is a fascist. The inauguration was a joyful occasion. Like I do at most happy things, I cried a lot. After a bizarre and vicious campaign fueled by a desperate need not to go to jail, Donald Trump has won the 2024 election. Well, as we all know, he's a sack of loose skin stuffed with grease. Trump's birthday parade may be canceled due to thunderstorms.
Little dweeb. Just a little dweeb. Colbert slowly turned a late night comedy show into that. Didn't happen overnight. Took years and years and years. But he got to feeling himself and thought that he could just project what he believes onto the American people and that was okay. In fact, it's just arrogant. It's disgusting, just like him. His guests on his show were all left-wingers. I mean, you look at the guest lineup over the years, it's all people from the left. The most insufferable Democrat politicians were on his show constantly. Everything was political, especially in these most recent years, and it's finally ending. For financial reasons, the network claims, nah. Colbert making the announcement last night.
Before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And yeah, I share your feelings. It's not just the end of our show, but it's the end of The Late Show on CBS. I'm not being replaced. This is all just going away.
And rightly so. Recently, Colbert drooled over Zoran Mamdani on his set here in New York as a communist looking to take over New York City and destroy it. He couldn't have been happier. They look like old friends. Last night, when he announced his show's cancellation, Adam Schiff was his guest. A Democrat so vile, he was removed from his committees for lying about classified information he had seen. The Late Show is pure propaganda from a network, a broadcast network, which is technically federally regulated by the FCC. CBS is supposed to be politically in the middle. They're not supposed to pick a side here in this two-party system, as are ABC and NBC. In truth, all three of these networks should be shut down and forced to retool and return to the unbiased networks that they are mandated to be if they're going to be broadcast on our government airwaves. But Democrats are spinning this the other way, of course, claiming that the ending of Colbert's show is a sign that CBS is bending to Trump's fascism. Jimmy Kimmel saying F you to CBS today. Elizabeth Warren posting, CBS canceled Colbert's show just 3 days after Colbert called out CBS's parent company Paramount for its $16 million settlement with Trump, a deal that looks like bribery. Left-wing publication Mother Jones saying Colbert's cancellation is a dark warning. No. The existence of Colbert's show for the last 10 years was actually the darkness. The fact that our 3 broadcast networks have all become mouthpieces for one political party in a 2-party system is the darkness. That is terrifying, and we all know it's true. The deep state is full of communists, and so is the media. Washington would love nothing more than to turn this country socialist, because think about it. Think about how much more money and how much more control that swamp would have if we started moving towards a full control system. It's what they want.
This raises so many red flags about what's going on here, especially given, as you point out, the recent track record of the capitulation, essentially paying what a lot of people think is as a bribe, a shakedown.
This looks to a lot of Colbert's fans like another form of capitulation by CBS to the President of the United States.
Canceling Colbert is an obvious move to appease Donald Trump. And I need to tell y'all something. If you don't think we are under a regime with an authoritarian strategy, then you are bugging. This is textbook authoritarian rule.
Yes, some decent takes sometimes, other times he's really stupid. Charlemagne the God. In truth, it's completely the opposite. It's completely the opposite. The media, so many of our institutions, taken over by the left, the media, one of them, of course. They've taken over so much: education, higher learning, academia. They've taken over medicine. They've taken over almost everything in this country. What we're seeing right now is one part of this very, very toxic takeover, which is what the left does. It takes over, it consumes everything, and then it kills it. We're seeing one part of that takeover be at least fixed in the near term. The Democrats are half right about this. This wasn't about money. CBS didn't end this show because Colbert wasn't pulling enough ad revenue. Colbert rated better than Kimmel or Fallon, in fact, to his credit. But do you think the shrewd business people at the top of CBS, mostly all capitalists, want their late night show to be a broadcast version of the Young Turks podcast? Because that's what it had become. Something only the very politically charged left would even consider watching. Do you know anybody that watches Colbert that's not an MSNBC overdose freak? Do you know anybody that watches that show besides that faction of people? He created an audience. He only needed about 1 million or 2 million people to do it. That's not a lot of people in this country. He created an audience. That audience used to be 10 times that size. Back in the heyday of those shows? Do you think CBS wants that? Wants to be tethered to that? NBC is breaking up with MSNBC right now. All of these networks are realizing they've created this really ugly thing and they want to get away from it. Trump's election and his fully justifiable CBS lawsuit for the 60 Minutes Kamala edit, which was ridiculous no matter what Scott Pelley says, gave Paramount the justification to finally end a very toxic program. It appears Sherry Redstone is trying to bring her broadcast network back to reality, back to the middle, back to something that every American can just watch. Because it's not that right now. You watch any day part on CBS, any of these networks, and you're just getting pumped with propaganda from the left. It pisses people off. Nobody wants to watch that. Who wants to have that as their network? When you think about what CBS, what NBC, what ABC started as, it's ugly. It's really ugly. This was an opportunity to say, let's fix this. Let's start with the worst thing we got, which at CBS was The Late Show. At ABC, it's probably The View. That needs to go too. These are horrible, horrible shows. And they said we got to get rid of them. And CBS has just removed, and Paramount has just removed, one of the most toxic TV hosts in the country, who commandeered control of a late night show and turned it into a political indoctrination machine for mainstream Americans. That's what he wants, to turn every American into the same ideology, the same twisted ideology as him. Tom Bevins, the co-founder and president of Real Clear Politics. Kevin Sorbo, the actor, joins us as well. Gentlemen, good to have you both on. Tom, the spin is that CBS and Paramount are bending to Trump's fascism, which I find hilarious. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's certainly not the case. I mean, Rob, you're right. I mean, Stephen Colbert took a storied franchise in The Late Show. We all used to watch David Letterman growing up and just ran it into the ground by virtue of being sort of a left-wing, hyper partisan. And, Jimmy Kimmel's done the same thing at ABC, Seth Meyers at NBC. And so part of this is clearly these shows, they're not funny anymore. Now, but NBC or CBS did end the entire program. They could have given it to someone else. They could have tried to, shift their focus There are other people. Greg Gutfeld on Fox has proven that people will tune in for late night TV.
Yeah.
Still, but they decided not to do that. So I think it was a combination of the fact that because if they did put someone in that chair who was, centrist or even right wing, I'm not even sure that CBS could get people to watch that, and so they decided to end the franchise altogether, which is a sad thing, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it is, and I'll make a prediction right now. I think where Colbert will end up will probably be doing the same thing that Gutfeld's doing, maybe at MSNBC or CNN. I can definitely see that being the move that is made. Kevin, your thoughts?
Well, I miss the old days of Johnny Carson. He was by far and away the best, most classiest talk show host we ever had. When I got my first series, Hercules, back in the 90s, I wanted to be in that show my whole life. And I missed it by 9 months. But I got in Jay Leno's show a number of times through the years. And Jay Leno, another classy guy, was unbelievable, awesome. And Letterman used to be that way. The last 5-6 years in Letterman, he showed his true colors. I mean, he's so far left as well. But you look at Colbert, you look at Kim, look at all these guys. The Media Research Center, I've done some work with Brent Bozell and his company. It's like 98% of guests are all far left. They don't bring any, they're not going to invite me on. They're afraid of me. I mean, did any of them apologize? I mean, you showed that little clip of him dancing with all these needles behind him with a vaccine. We were wrong. We were given this information. We were wrong. But there was no apologies. None whatsoever. These guys are all bozos. I'm glad to see the guy go. He's a complete jerk.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. It is funny, Tom, to hear them all screaming fascism, though. I mean, there are entire agencies out there like NewsGuard that are devoted to forcing companies to not advertise on this network, to not advertise on Fox or with any conservative media. There's companies out there and nonprofits working to deplatform all conservative media so only Americans only hear left-wing propaganda and nothing else. You have all three of the broadcast networks all bending hard left, and they scream fascism when Colbert gets the boot. It's too rich.
It is rich, and it's a classic case of projection, right? The left always accuses the right of the things that they're doing, and this, I think, is another example of that. I mean, the idea that this program had so many problems, and as you mentioned, I mean, his ratings weren't terrible vis-a-vis his competitors, right, his colleagues, but at the same time, I think this show was losing, gobs of money because of the huge production values that were involved and all that, and again, it hadn't been funny for years. No. And that ultimately, you talk about Johnny Carson, you talk about David Letterman in the early years. This was not about politics. This was about entertainment. But politics has infected everything that we do now, including late night TV. Yeah. And as you mentioned, it skewed all one way, and therefore it became a real problem, unwatchable, and they had decided to end it.
Yeah, and Kevin, just before we wrap up here, the fact that on the night that he has to announce this, the guest on the show was Adam Schiff, which just proves exactly the point. Like, this is what you're getting at CBS. Adam Schiff is your main guest on your late show. Go ahead.
Yeah, yet another guy that's in prison for the things that he's done to the country. It's just incredible. I don't miss California. I miss my home that I used to have there outside of LA, but that's about it. I don't miss what they've done to that state. I love the free state of Florida. That's where I live. Been here for almost 7 years now. It's fantastic. But these guys, I'm telling you, it's just incredible what they get away with. And it's one thing after another. You mentioned yourself. Look, if you look at every sitcom over the last 20 or 30 years, it's been more and more the left. The Friends, I laughed at Friends. It was funny. But the producers admitted we wanted to get the liberal message across in all the episodes. And they certainly did. And they're doing it in television, movies, everything. That's what they do all the time. And people are just, the derangement syndrome of Trump is for real. It's unbelievable. They used to love that guy. If you remember, they wanted him to come on The View, to come on Oprah's show. They hugged him, do a cameo in my movie. But then once he said, I'm going to go on the right side, they've been ballistic. It's just hilarious.
It is something else. Guys, good to have you on. Thanks so much. Kevin and Tom, appreciate it.
Thanks.